Alright, hello everybody, and welcome, as I finally put my mic on after I get fully set up, to round 2 here in Group 2, once again, in what for me is a day that very much matches a typical British day. It's dark, rainy, and pretty cold, but we should have some good racing lighting it up on track for you today. Was definitely a very fun one yesterday around Silverstone in Group 1, and of course the British Grand Prix, one of the classic circuits on the Formula 1 calendar. And again, just kind of due to how this game does kind of operate, again, should be lots of close racing. Expect a lot of big DRS trains as this race progresses. But yeah, it should be very tight, especially in that opening stint. It's really difficult to kind of get a good breakaway in this one. We got some guy in the Sauber on an out lap, but standard weekend for us here in group number 2. Of course, this is round 2 of season number 10 as we break into double digits before we hit next year's game. But very high speed Silverstone, so but plenty of sections as well. We're going to need a lot of downforce to carry as much speed as possible through those corners. Probably going to see wings in about the 30s for some of the highest bar. Also, suspension going to be very important. Tire wear going to be very important. Soft to medium, definitely possible here as some guy seemingly getting a little bit loose as he gets underway, but we'll be on board with the Sauber. Of course, as he runs into turns number 1 and 2, of course, you don't lift 4 at all through that brief S section. Want to hold 7th gear through those first 2 corners. Get it slowed down for turns 3, 4, and out on to turn number 5. Of course, the first DRS zone on this circuit. Going to see a decent amount of overtaking opportunities down into turn number 6. And of course, going to want to try to stay fairly close to everybody else as some guy puts up a 27.9 in that first sector. 6 and 7, going to want to try to be single file through there, but we very well might see a couple of side-by-side fights as drivers scrap for position after the braking zone of turn 6. Got the little kink of turn 8 onto the old pit straight, and then right through cops at turn 9. Got to be very brave going wheel to wheel through there. And then, of course, you run right into Maggots and Beckett's, where we saw multiple instances of 2 and sometimes even 3 wide in yesterday's Group 1 race. Of course, it's definitely assisted a little bit by the couple of safety cars that occurred. But again, was great racing. Sometimes it happens when you have a bunch of drivers so close as that. Some guy, a bit of a slide there through the almost penultimate corner, is going to run a little bit wide and invalidate, but come into this little kind of bus stop section at the end of the lap. Of course, Silverstone, one of the few circuits without DRS on the pit straight. Some guy would set a 28.3 to start us off, but we'll go without a time. So we'll jump to Stratting in that Red Bull. Of course, race winner in our first race in Australia, getting off to a great start, especially after a season where we saw so many poles just not go his way. And as I say that, he's going to spin here at the final corner, and he's going to try to recover that car. He's got to be careful not to get DSQ'd here, and he's going to get DSQ'd for driving the wrong way, so big mistake there from Stratting. So as I was saying, Stratting looking to try and put together a good result. He's going to get DSQ'd. I'm not sure if that's a wheel disconnection or what happened there, but the Red Bull will start from the back of the grid, so Stratting will have to go from the back of the field to the front. Again, not really sure what happened there. I think, should have turned left there instead of turning right, but it is Viperize setting the first lap of the first provisional pole lap of this session. Very aesthetic 27.272 there, as he'll go second fastest. Ollie Jelly not too far behind in that Ferrari, 27.474. Gonna have to make sure that he keeps the weight above what is needed, as well as protect those skid blocks, as he doesn't want to make the mistake, or the mistakes, I should say, that Ferrari made either earlier today or very early this morning. If you happen to witness the Chinese Grand Prix. Ozan then coming in third in that McLaren, of course, dropping down from Group 1. He should have some very solid pace in this group, so keep an eye out for that McLaren. And then you got Gabicho, Pancakes, and Zarowski all with lap times on the board. I'm trying to see if anybody is on a proper push lap. We'll stay on board with the V-carb of Owen. We did see Stratton's reaction to accidentally DSQing himself as well. Stratton, I don't know if you can give kind of any further insight into how that happens. Rusky, by the way, 27.582, so that puts him just behind Ozan, and only about 0.3 off that provisional pole slot. But very easy to kind of pick up and lose a 10th or 2 here and there. Silverstone does have a good chunk of bumps as Owen slots just ahead of Gabi Cho. Let's say, actually that was Viperize, I think, getting set for another push lap behind him. So potentially a lot of pace still in that McLaren machine. Sorry, there was Ozan getting set for another lap. I'm still getting used to colors, so we're figuring that. We've got new colors for a bunch of drivers this year. We'll jump on board with Masquerade. Again, a couple of drivers putting times on the board. Alexis Beast, 10th fastest. Formula Jonah, 12th. Eric, too fast for you, 11th. Yeah, Viperize, I'm still getting used to that. I think you were McLaren for a couple of seasons. I did forget that you're Haas. That was Ozan, I believe, getting set for another push lap. Masquerade did invalidate there, though. So we'll jump on board with Guardian Knight in the Mercedes. Looking a little bit slow through the final corner there. It looks to be setting up for actually, no, not maybe setting up for another push. He'll go 9th fastest, 28.399. But again, still probably a little bit of pace in that Mercedes. And again, it seems that the kind of first flurry of laps are over. Zrusky saying he didn't practice. So I think still very happy then to be P4. We'll see if that is the top of his kind of margin. But yeah, Masquerade, of course, coming to the line, I think tried to recover a little bit of the ERS there. Seiyao underway, but we'll jump to Ozan, who is diving into the pits there. Did about match his time through the first 2 sectors, but did invalidate there. So he will dive into the pits. Owen will follow, and I assume a number of other drivers will. We do have a Ferrari seemingly on a push lap, so we'll jump on board with Eric, who pretty comfortably up through the first chunk of his lap. We'll see if this is a recharge lap, though, or something a little bit more competitive. Seemingly will be pretty good coming through the final corner. Not going to fight for pole from the... Actually, no, will fight for pole. I forgot how close that the start-finish line was there. But Eric, too fast for you. First into the 26s, 26.999. As he goes top of the field. So Viperize, Ali Jelly, now with a bar to shoot for. Avni OK, meanwhile, with a great time there. You'd think he was in an Aston Martin with that 27.007. But dropping that bar even further up at the front. Of course, we do give out points for qualifying here. You get 3 points for a pole, 2 points for second, and 1 point for third. So something else to consider when talking about points at the end of this race is that definitely affects, I should say, our championship a little bit. Seon Isha underway on a lap. Formula Jonah up 7 seconds, so we'll jump on board with the Alpine as he runs into Maggots and Beckett's. I'm not sure who just put it. I think it was Masquerade getting on the board with a 28.012 there. So good lap from him. And of course, you got the Ferrari just up ahead. That is Eric Too Fast, probably on an in lap. But Jonah up 13 seconds is going to have to pick up a good chunk more in this final sector. As, of course, as Alpine definitely going to be looking to have a solid weekend. Of course, Kendrick's trying to defend as driver's champion, and Alpine trying to defend as constructor's champion, which, of course, was won by Kendrick's and the now Williams of Strakosaur last season. But, of course, we'll have to wait and see there. Kendrick's, of course, on his first outlap of the session. We'll jump to some guy in the Sauber. Of course, soon to be Audi. A little bit of a wiggle there coming out of that final traction zone, trying to keep it tight to that inside there, 27.450. So some guy right up onto the second row. So this, we're getting a little bit of lime green in there. Viperize, though, on a push lap, was up slightly through that first sector. But again, you can pick up a lot of time through Maggots and Beckett's here just by running a lot more downforce. Again, going to be really interesting because on this game, you can take it just about flat until you get to that kind of third turn, depending on how much downforce you're running. And it's over 2/10 up for Viperize. So we found a lot more time through that section of the racetrack. So just 3 corners left to go now, and that Haas looks on like it's on rails through that final chunk. So the important part now, can he get the power down well? And he's very comfortable through the final corner. He'll push the line. That's a 26.874. Viperize up 4/10 on that lap and finds a lap that puts him back in provisional pole. Both Mercedes as well doing very solid. Isha jumped up into 4th while I was discussing Viperize there. It does seem that Avni okay on a lap as well. And we'll try to keep an eye on Ozan after Avni crosses the line. We got the other Sauber of Masquerade just up ahead, so keep an eye on the Sauber that currently sits in P11 as Avni okay through this final corner, as actually Masquerade, I think, diving into the pits as well. So here comes Avni through the final couple of corners. Can he improve from that 007 lap time? Looks like it'll be a solid one, as he'll go pole by just 0.003 of a second. Avni okay pips Viperize for provisional pole. And this is looking to be a very tight one as this qualifying session continues. Ozan up 1/10.5. Does he have any time to find now in the final sector? As an 8.71 from Avni is very solid time there. So Ozan now through the final corner. I think that's Kendricks going 4th fastest. He'll drop down to 5th after that lap from Ozan, but the reigning drivers champion has now joined the party. Of course, still 4/10 off of that provisional pole. Also a little bit of an update on Stratting's incident where he got disqualified. Spun out of the final corner, was trying to rejoin, and didn't flip it around quick enough, so the game recognized him as driving backwards on circuit. The V-Carb of Owen, meanwhile, 8th quickest, 27.401. Who was that just jumped up the board? I believe that was T'Challa. It was. As now Aston Martin into the picture. Alexis Beast goes 6th quickest in his second race back in a hot minute. And we got the other Haas of Debo as well. He'll cross the line, but only 13th fastest. And of course, a number of drivers still very much in the picture for provisional pole as we just cross under 5.5 minutes left to go in the session. But again, I believe most drivers now likely on an in-lap. Zrusky definitely appears to. Owen appears to. Guardianite coming out very early for what could very well be a final lap of this session. We'll stay on board with the Haas of Debo. Or actually, we'll jump on board with the Haas of Debo Croc, who is not on a push lap. He is almost out of fuel. So his car will be trundling back. But yeah, everybody on track currently on an in-lap. So, of course, if you are in chat and you are just a viewer of this one, definitely be interested to see what your prediction for provisional pole is. I mean, when you got, what is that, 4 drivers within, 1/10 of each other, it's going to come down to an incredibly tight one. Viperize him crashing. Yeah, that was definitely a big thing yesterday. Lag definitely played a little bit of a part. Luckily, not too much, but made for a rather chaotic start. Viperize getting crashed or crashed into. Should be a very interesting one there. We'll jump down to Isha, who of course is the only one on an outlap at the moment. Actually, it is Isha on an outlap and Pancakes, I believe, on a push lap. So we'll jump on board with the Red Bull as he makes his way around the circuit. Of course, currently sits in 16th. We do have a couple of reserves in the picture as well, and Pancakes is one of them. So we'll see what his lap time is like. Of course, currently the lead of the Red Bulls after Stratting's mistake. Of course, working his way through Maggots and Beckett's now very clean through there. Not going to risk it with track limits, but down 1/10 through those first 2 sectors. And he's got to find 3/10 just to grab a position. So we'll see if there was a mistake in the final corner. And Sayao getting out of the way, and Pancakes going to invalidate there and dive into the pits. Of course, slower than usual pit entry here. So maybe something to consider for a number of drivers is getting slowed down to that 37-mile-an-hour speed limit when entering the pits, as Guardian makes his way past the old pit lane. Of course, it has a very nice clear track ahead of him. Will, of course, come up on the Alpine of Formula Jonah, it looks like. Yeah, gonna definitely come down to the wire here. I think if you had to place bets, it's probably gonna be one out of the top 4 as Guardian Knight invalidates there. So Guardian now at a potential risk of not being able to get a better lap in, especially having invalidated there in Sector 3. Not a lot of time to get the recharge going. And he's actually going to stay out, so hopefully enough fuel in his car. And again, tire wear not going to be a massive factor in this one, as I believe it is the in-game harder compound of tires. But Isha only losing 0.2 on that one, despite having to shut off ERS, and we'll keep an eye on him as he continues. But we'll jump to Formula Jonah. Sayal also getting underway. But Jonah, of course, going to be looking to join his teammate of Kendricks up at the front. Jonah, of course, with T-Bone yesterday, doing an incredible job on commentary. Always fun to watch back. And Jonah up over 7.5 seconds on that first lap. But, of course, with a 1:45.154 on the board, going to need to pick up a lot more than that. Zruski getting underway as all 18 drivers still in this qualifying session now out on track on their outlaps, and Jonah going to run really wide there. Still going to manage to not invalidate, but is going to back off there, try and get some recharge going. And we'll try to keep an eye on the drivers, especially those up at the top. Viperize getting underway. Dachal getting underway. Got both Salbers making their way across the line. Ozan up ahead of is slotted just behind Viperize. So we'll have a number of drivers towards the front of the field coming across the line at roughly the same time. Guardian will looks to get another lap in. Some guy underway. As again, a number of drivers just kind of checking up here. Gabicho up 0.6 through the first 2 sectors. So Gabicho and the Williams finding a load of time on his final push lap of the session. Of course, might have to manage a little bit of traffic here, as I think Formula Jonah trying to slot in is the cause of that yellow flags. He will get another lap in, but Gabicho or one of the Ferraris will be first to cross the line with a final competitive push lap. Here comes Gabicho. He'll come to the line. That lap time good enough for P5, 27.057, as a very solid lap time from the man for Williams. And, of course, what will be a home race. Again, a lot of chaos here as drivers coming to the end of their laps. Zruski up 0.2, ran into a little bit of traffic there. Will have a chance to potentially get an extra lap in, but he's going to come to the line. That lap time, good enough for 4th. He joins his teammate of Dachal. Here comes Viperize. Now, round the final couple of corners. Abney K as well on a lap. Has Viperize been able to find anything as time expires? Final lap of the session for Viperize. Can he do anything about provisional pole? He cannot. He barely does not improve. Here comes the McLaren of Ozan. He will not improve either. Dachal now to the line. He'll find the time. 26.754 from the Aston Martin. The Sauber Masquerade to the line. He comes across in 7th. Here comes his teammate of some guy. Currently sits 13th. How much can he jump up the field? He'll jump all the way up into 5th as he gets into the 27s. And look at that big train of cars coming through the back half of their lap. They're being led by Isha Guardianite, who's going to invalidate there. So he'll dive into the pits. Behind him is Owen in the V-Carb. And then it'll be a number of drivers across the line. So keep an eye on that timing tower as this qualifying session comes to a close. Owen to the line, not going to improve there. What can that Ferrari do? That's actually Ollie Jelly, I believe, going 5th fastest. Can anybody jump up the board? Zruski's not improving. Avni Ok's up a 10th, though, through 2 sectors. So it might come down to Abney OK to decide to fight for pole. Keep an eye, though, on the likes of Alexis Beast. And again, look at that traffic as they come out of the DRS zone there. Here comes Abney OK to the line. Can he steal pole at the dying stages? He can, and I don't know if there's anything else anybody can do about it. Alexis Beast going to run wide there at the final corner. Pancakes jumps up into 17th at a dying gasp, but it'll be Abney OK stealing pole with the flurry of final laps there. Here, and just look at how tight some of that field is. 26.716 is enough. So it'll be the Mercedes man on pole, and it'll be Dachal starting alongside him. Alexis B spun in the first sector there, so that was a mistake. But a very chaotic flurry is 18 drivers all trying to get a bit of a lap in there. So I imagine a bit of a challenge there to get out of the way. But it's super tight for pole. Viperize just had a little bit there of just, not able to find that little bit of time, I think, through the final couple of corners to get pole. At the end of the day, it is okay on a pole at Silverstone, and picking up those 3 extra points. But yeah, you can just look at the top 12 separated by less than half a second. So should be a good one. We will be having a 2-minute break here, which gives me a quick second to get a refreshment. We're not sponsored by GamerSupps, but GamerSupps, if you're listening, I would love some free shit. Because I have a feeling I'm going to need a lot of energy for this one. Which, of course, you're listening to me at least pour myself some water. But, yeah, again, should be a very, very good one. Very tight there in the back end of qualifying. And then, of course, we will be going into a dry race. Of course, thank you, Viperize, for giving me that heads up. And again, we do have a 2-minute break. So feel free yourself to go grab a drink, as it should be very, very interesting. Send this to GSupps. Hey, GSupps, was it reach out? I will send you my address. I always love free stuff. I'm having the mango, the like standard mango one right now. So yeah, definitely would appreciate that. We haven't had a sponsor here yet, but that could be cool. Let's be real. I just want to get paid. I'm a greedy bastard. So, but yeah, P1 to P16 within a second. P1 to P12 within half a second. So should be a very good one here. Real? Yeah. Luckily, I have a full-time. I have a 40-hour-a-week job, which means that I can cut myself off at 40 hours, and then do shit like this on the weekends, which is nice. Again, and it especially helps when outside it looks like Britain in real life, cold and wet and depressing. But of course, in game, not reflecting that in this one. But that just happens sometimes. Praying for no front wing damage. Yeah, I think that's definitely something to consider. It also depends on just how much as well. But you got to be really kind of careful through this first section of the race. Really got to just try to stick with that lead group if you do want to battle for the win. Strategy also going to be very important, especially if we stay green. But again, based on Group 1 yesterday, definitely a lot of potential for incidents, track limits as well. That definitely screwed me over yesterday. Was involved in that big fight towards the end of the race, which was surprising because I am not as quick as some of those guys. But yeah, track limits ended up costing me at least points in the results. We'll, of course, have to wait for stewards' decisions. But it's never a good day when you come across the line in 6th. But fall to 11th at the end of the day. That's always a little bit disappointing. But again, should be a very, very good one. And again, number of drivers going to be kind of a little bit out of place in this one. Keep an eye on Stratting and Strakasaur towards the back to be a couple of drivers that could have the potential to claw their way back. As we do get ready to get underway here, 3, 4, and 5 lights. And we are cleanly underway here in Group 2, and it seems to be a decent getaway from Avenue OK to Chal. Looking at inside there, but it's a good breakaway. You got the Ferrari of Eric Too Fast For You under pressure or behind there. You got the Sauber scrambling for positions as they get into that first braking zone. Look at the Aston Martin trying to defend from Viperize as they all scramble through there. Yellow flags behind. That's for a spun Ferrari. That's Ollie Jelly, who's gone round potentially due to contact. But otherwise, 19 cars clean through the first couple of corners. We'll go ahead and pull up tire choice as well. And okay, benefiting from those softs to have a great start, but most of the field going for soft or mediums here, as we'll probably see soft to medium. We'll probably see all 3 tire compounds. Actually, we're seeing all 3 tire compounds immediately here. Alexis Beast, I think a little bit of a mistake there. He's dropped to 19th, but I think has continued. We'll go through cops for the first time, all basically single file as Avenue OK continuing to try and pull away from those medium compound runners behind him. And the hards are going to be very long lasting, but again, if you're going hards, you're basically banking on a late race safety car because they undercut in this game. Super powerful. As you did take a look at predicted race strategies, you got the soft to medium and then medium to hard as the 2 predicted strategies. Soft to medium, also an option if you took an extra set in your tire of softs in your tire allocation, or if you saved a set from qualifying. Stratting already up into 15th, so he's already on for a good start. Eric, too fast for you. Going to go around the outside of Dachal at the final corner. So a big move there from the Ferrari as DRS is going to be activated here on lap number 2 of 26. Can Avenue OK break away by the time they get to the detection point? I'm not sure. We'll jump on board with the Haas as he continues to try and chase after the Mercedes. We'll also have to keep in mind just how much drivers here are attacking. And it's no rear wing open on Viperize's Haas, so lost too much time there in the opening salvo to be able to keep with Avenue OK as Viperize getting past Dachal. Eric as well getting the overtake done. Zruski up into 6. He's trying to defend here from Kendricks, who's trying to go the long way around the outside as they pull on the old pit straight. It's the Alpine on the medium compounded tire, still holding on to that P5. But Zruski wanting to get by, wanting to utilize those tires. Avenue OK, meanwhile, continuing to push, and he's got loads of pace in that car. Went only a lap up on fuel, potentially weight, as well as tires being a bit of an issue for Viperize. And I think at this point, he's just trying to keep as close to that front as possible. Maybe try to work with some of those drivers behind, such as Eric G. Fast for you, who's going to sweep round the outside with DRS assistance. Zruski going to dive to the inside of Kendricks. That's a nice move. So good bit of respect there from the Alpine to stay out of his way. As you can see, a couple other cars scrambling in the background. I believe that was Masquerade and Gabicho side by side. There's I believe that's the McLaren of Ozan diving into the pits. So an early stop here for Abney. That's a big twitch there from Zruski, almost taking out a couple of drivers. Guardianite and Kendricks going past as we got a little bit of a breakaway here, as it's Abney OK comfortably in that lead with about 1.5 second gap, and then it's another 1.3 back to Kendricks. As again, a number of drivers continuing to scramble. Ozan slapping on that hard compound tire, potentially just trying to go for a mega undercut here. Formula Jonah getting past Devo Croc as well as he continues to pick up positions. Here comes Isha going to the inside of Kendricks. A little bit of a lockup there. Again, that very well just may be on my end. You also got Masquerade trying to find a way past Zruski. But it seems like that will hold. So now it's another, again, a soft tire runner to go chasing after the mediums. Eric, too fast for you as well. Showing a little bit more pace here in the early stages than Viperize. As that gap now about hovering at around that 1.2, 1.3 second mark, as opposed to when Viperize was chasing, that was actually going up rather quickly. So I think Viperize had to dump, also maybe dumping a lot of ERS in the early stages of this race, and Masquerade quickly takes a 3-second time penalty due to track limits. He's going to be under threat from Gabicho behind him, who seemed to be setting up to take the inside there. As Kendricks with DRS going to try to go around the outside of Guardian Knight. Not going to get it done quite yet as they're 2x2. A little bit of wheel banging there as Kendricks, I think, came across that a little bit too soon. Zruski gets loose as well, just trying to stay away from that. And, of course, is going to get ghosted and is going to drop right down the field. He's going to drop all the way to 10th, maybe 11th, as he's currently in between some guy as they're 3 wide going into turn 1. Who's going to come out in front? It's going to be Owen splitting the 2. And they're 3 wide again behind as the Salbers and the Aston Martin going at it. Zruski, some guy up into 8th. Zruski still trying to recover as we got a big fight going on here for the backup points. Stratting involved. That's a damaged front wing on Gabicho's car, so the Williams going to be a little bit out of place. And so that's big news for Gabicho as you saw that massive scramble there to try and keep cars safe. Some guy going to sweep down the inside of Owen, who's actually going to go into the back of him there. But again, lots of battles right now. Avenue OK, once again, though, starting to make a little bit of a breakaway. Here comes Dachal now, looking to the inside of Viperize and the cops. He'll back off, though. And to Maggots and Beckett's once again. Of course, Isha giving chase. Some guy now is the leader of pack number 3. And then you got a little bit of a break again. Back to the likes of Debo, Ollie Jelly, Pancakes, and Alexis. All trying to get back into that fight for points. Again, got a driver running wide there. That was Owen taking to the dirt. So might compromise him, going for a move there. He'll defend. They're 3 wide here. Zruski making a move down the inside. Very tough to get done. I don't think the Sauber knew that Zruski was there on the inside as some guy came across rather quickly. Masquerade looking to the inside of Owen. Now we got yellow flags behind. That is for, who is that for? I believe that was for Alexis Beast going round. And somebody diving into the pits here. It will be Gabicho finally getting that front wing fixed. Yeah, I believe it was Alexis involved in that incident, though he seems he will have a shot here to catch up and at least stay in touching distance. As actually, no, he's down to about 2 seconds now. So Alexis potentially picking up damage from Gabicho, who may have been trying to dive into the pits there. But we're lap number 5 now. And again, Eric's starting to lose a little bit of pace here. Again, you can see that the Mercedes of Avenue OK not too far off there. Eric does pick up 2/10 through there, so potentially a bit of a mistake there from Avni. DeChal there with a mistake as well as he got on the power. He's now going to be under threat from Kendricks. He'll take a defensive line into Cops and going to hold that inside, but Kendricks might have a run now into Maggots and Beckett's, though not deploying ERS, so doesn't look like we'll be side by side through there. We'll jump back up to that current battle for P2. As they make their way through, of course, Viperize now going to be under no threat at all. Going to tuck in. Does he have the straight line speed to get past the Scarlet Ferrari? He's going to bounce to the inside. Going to take a little bit of grass as well as he goes extremely to the inside. But going to slot that Haas right in front of Eric Too Fast For You. Eric going to look to maybe fight it round the outside into the final 2 corners. Going to think better of it, though. Going to hook that car a little bit off that inside curb. Kendricks also jumping up into 4th as he and Isha both using DRS to get ahead of DeChal. Some guy, meanwhile, still leads that fight for P7, stratting from 11th almost up into the points now. Of course, going to be putting Owen under threat. Pancakes picks up a time penalty down there in 17th. As again, a number of battles, and the amount of time I'm going to say battles in this race. If you took a shot, you'd need a replacement liver. All right, the lap number 6 here. And we're at least starting to calm down just a little bit. But yeah, DRS very important here. And without it, drivers can very easily pull away. So I guess some things to probably consider here. The mediums, probably at a point where they're going to start losing a little bit of grip. So again, we're probably seeing the softs hit that second wind, and those mediums starting to kind of fall off a little bit for the first time. I'd expect the softs, if you're on softs, you're probably going to pit in that lap 10 to 12 range, maybe as late as 13 if you have done a really good job at saving those tires. As here comes the Ferrari. You can also see Isha there in the background. Eric not going to be close enough to make a move, so enough straight line speed on Viperize's car. Same thing with Kendricks, who holds on to that P4 as he's closing up very quickly to the likes of Viperize and Eric. So yeah, Viperize just seemingly not as much pace in the clear air. And maybe that's just due to him running a little bit more straight line speed, burning a little bit more ERS in that opening stage, and maybe struggling to recover a little bit. You can see that battle for P7, some guy only 2 seconds back of this fight for P4. As again, we do hit lap number 7. As stuff has started to calm down just a little bit, we will take a look at the position changes here in the early stages. I think if you're talking driver of the day, Isha has to be up there in that early conversation as he's picked up 8 spots. So after starting from P13, you can see Stratting down there in 11th, kind of stuck in that battle for P7 right now, but also definitely in that. Of course, Gabicho picked up damage in that early stage. Ozan down 8 after boxing very early, likely picking up damage as well. And then again, you got a number of other drivers that are going to be fighting in there. You got DeChal, who's dropped 4 spots. You got yellow flags in Sector 2 now. That is for Stratting, who's gone round. So not sure whether that was... Actually, no, he's got damage. So Stratting with contact there. Just as I was saying, he was having a good day. It'll go from bad to worse. And so now it's a third driver going to have to really just bank on a safety car in this one. Eric Too Fast For You, meanwhile, able to find a way back past Viperize. So he'll jump back up into P2. And we'll see how much pace he can pull together to go try and chase after the race leader. Because like the Kendricks and DeChal and Guardian Knight now have also joined this fight for P2. Avenue OK, meanwhile, still just kind of doing his thing out at the front. Yeah, again, you can see just kind of Viperize losing a good chunk there. Stratting 3 seconds to corner cutting, so surprisingly not into the pits. Yellow flags on the pit straight. I believe that was for Stratting going wide as well. So definitely surprised to see Stratting still out just with all of that front wing damage. But again, I think, yeah, if you are Stratting at this point, you're just hoping to hold out for a safety car. Again, loads of tight pack racing, but has really seemed to calm down. Some guy Again, that gap still just hovering at around that 2-second mark. Zruski hasn't really found a move, hasn't really found a lot of pace yet. You got Owen there in the background. You got Ollie Jelly just off the back of this pack. Of course, Masquerade is going to be wanting that chase pack to try and pull a little bit closer, so that way he can have a better opportunity. But again, we'll have to wait and see. And yeah, those tires on Viperize's car really seeming to fall off a little bit. As again, it definitely seems to be a bit more in the straight line speed for the Haas, or maybe just the mediums. Not too great on his machine. Dachal, meanwhile, up in the 5th. He's trying to go past Isha, who's going to fight it around the outside of the inside for the ensuing corner. But they'll still battle side by side like we saw in Silverstone a little while ago. A bit loose there, though, from Dachal. Isha taking avoiding action. That's lost them a load of time. That's actually dropped them closer to the fight for P7 as Zruski now onto the back of it. As we start lap number 9. So once again, 3-car fight for P2. But this time it's the reigning drivers' champion, the one getting involved. As, yeah, that battle for P7 has now joined, really, that fight for P5. Stratting now going to dive into the pits. Going to have to slap on a set of hards and a new front wing. And again, at this point, if you're one of those 3 towards the back, just kind of hoping for a safety car more than anything. Stratting going to finally be released, but of course going to lose time to Ozan, and he'll drop back down into P20. So definitely sad to see last time's race winner get damage. But if you think back to last season as well, season 9, we had, over the course of our 12-race season, we had 9 different race winners. It wasn't until Strakasaur got a repeat victory in Brazil. Or actually, no, I don't remember exactly when the first repeat was. It may have been Strakasaur in Brazil. Here comes Viperize, meanwhile, looking for another move. Not going to quite pull close enough, though. He'll sit back. Yellow flags in sector 1. That's Viperize around, that's Stratting going round. As here comes Viperize looking to the inside. Going to get pinched, though, to the inside there by Eric, who I'm sure not too pleased because they're continuing to lose time. Viperize, though, continuing to take that peak. Really wants that position. Thinks he has more pace than Eric. But again, I think that's more in a straight line. So I think if you're Viperize, the name of the game right now would really depend. That's a car round. That's Strakasaur at the final corner, who has gone round. God Pancake's going to be the first of the soft tire runners to dive into the pits as we start lap number 10. But yeah, Strakasaur managing to keep that out of the wall. Here comes Viperize now looking to the inside of the Ferrari. Going to get squeezed that little bit to that inside. Eric going to be able to carry that little bit more speed. Does go off track. Viperize going to have to hang it still around the outside, though, as Masquerade picks up another 3-second time penalties. They'll still be side by side, but as they pull out onto the old pit straight, it's going to be the Haas out in front. Going to be at risk, though, of Eric behind him, who will, of course, have DRS advantage. But again, I think Viperize is starting to struggle with those tires, so potentially tire temps or just kind of a naturally under-series setup may be part of the concern for the Haas. It did also seem like Viperize with a lot of extra fuel in that machine. 3/10 behind, though, is Eric. He'll be closing. Viperize taking that defensive line. Eric going to have to take a look to the outside. Viperize going to squeeze him outside. It's going to be the Ferrari, though, trying to make the sweep around the outside. Going to keep it within track limits. Of course, we'll have the inside now. Kendrick's looking to maybe try and dive into the pits. Viperize is going to try to keep it around the outside, though. Going to be squeezed there. A bit of contact, and Eric is going to get loose. So seem to just be side-to-side wheel contact as Masquerade picks up a 10-second time penalty. So that's going to go even worse for him as he and Debo Croc, first of the kind of racing pack to dive into the pits. But definitely seemed like a bit more of a racing incident there between Eric and Viperize, just kind of battling it out. But I think if you're those drivers but if you're the likes of Abney, that's exactly the kind of battling that you want to see, because they're willing to go hammer and tongs and now drag Dachal, Isha, some guy up into this fight. Kendrick's looking around the outside of Viperize. He'll get that move done. But now again, the roles reversed, and with the blue machine involved this time. From LaJona as well now up into the top 10. He'll be battling with Ollie Jelly for that point. Alexis is, again, one of those drivers, I think, just trying to maybe go hard to soft. Owen and Zruski swap places as well. That was through cops. But again, lap number 11. So we'll jump on up to our leader. Again, we'll keep an eye on that battle in the background. Of course, DRS going to open up for Viperize. Eric, of course, still with them. What's going to be the decision for the leader? Has he saved a set of soft tires? He's going to dive into the pits here with a comfortable 4.7 second advantage. Going to have to get it slowed all the way down, though. He will dive into the pits. Viper is actually going to follow him, so potentially medium to hards for the Haas, as he'll dive out of the way. Guardian Knight 10 seconds for speeding in the pits as he makes a big mistake there. That'll cost him a load of time. It will promote as Ollie Jelly also 10 seconds as he forgets that it's 37 miles an hour through there. It's definitely a little bit unnatural to get it all slowed all the way down for that. So a number of 10-second time penalties, and we'll see if that affects anybody else. Gabicho, though, 3 seconds for track limits on his car. But it does leave Kendricks as the lone leader of this race. And of course, Isha going to lose a little bit more time due to double stacking with his teammate, as again, it's still not going to be perfect, but again, you still get a little bit of a detriment from that double stack. So Kendricks now leads, though we'll see for just how long. And we'll see what the strategy is for a number of these drivers. And of course, again, still safety cars to come to potentially influence that result. Just keep in mind that that lead for Avni OK sat at about 4.5 seconds. So likes it Kendricks and Viperize. Viperize, of course, now 4.8 behind. And I think definitely in a bad spot, being on those hards to try and go fight for the win. As I think soft to medium, definitely the way you want to try and shoot for. Should we stay green? Alexis Beast, though, big mistake. He's retired from the session. That's going to bring out the safety car, and that's going to be big bad news for Kendricks and Eric, who both stayed out. DeChal's in a great position. He'll dive into the pits. Some guy will as well. So that changes strategy entirely in this one. DeChal picks up a 10-second time penalty for track limits, though, or for speeding in the pits, though. Apologies. He's going to have to slap on hards. Formula Jonah into the pits. He'll be a big beneficiary. Sayao dives in. Strakasaur dives in. This, of course, will bring the likes of Stratting back into this race. But Kendricks and Eric going to be in big trouble here. Will have the opportunity to get a fresh set of softs on, but will likely drop to the back of this grid. DeChal and Avni going to be racing out of the pits. It is Avni, though, who is able to have a big enough gap to be able to stay out in front, so the Mercedes still stays at the front of the field. Yeah, very unfortunate safety cars. It looked to just be a bit of a mistake there from Owen on exit. Gabicho picks up 10 seconds. This also gives a chance for the likes of Ozan to serve that 10-second time penalty. But yeah, again, I think the main losers here are Kendricks and Eric. Because again, just kind of based on some of that field spread right now, it doesn't seem like it'll be too much, as Gabicho actually going to retire from the session. So we'll see 2 DNFs in this one as Gabicho picks up that extra 10 seconds. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at penalties, that's fastest lap. That is the wrong thing to change. But yeah, if you're looking at penalties, DeChal probably going to end up as a big loser here as well. As I imagine, he'll dive in and serve that 10-second time penalty. Of course, being under safety car, number drivers probably might have to go a little bit slower. But of course, Kendricks and Eric going to be looking to jump the safety car as quick as possible. Kendricks actually trying to overtake the Aston Martin advantage. And again, just trying to get in there as early as possible. Here comes Kendricks and Eric. DeChal surprisingly opting to stay out. And of course, Kendricks and Eric diving into the pits. And so that'll give Avni OK the lead back in this one. Of course, we'll go ahead and throw the tire chart back on real quick just to see what they opt for. Softs for Eric. What does Kendricks opt to go to? Softs as well. So Kendricks and Eric, definitely going to be 2 interesting drivers to keep an eye on. We'll see where they come out. They'll definitely come out, I think, both outside of the points, as they'll likely come out behind God Pancakes, depending on how quickly they can get their cars back out on track. Kendricks is released. But keep an eye on the Alpine and the Ferrari, as Kendricks actually, I think, managed to beat Pancakes. So Kendricks manages to get a little bit of breathing room. So that's a great move from him to be able to get that car out in time. But again, under safety car here at the halfway point. Viperize asking if he should pit again. I think it's, I think if you're on mediums, you stick on them until the end of the race at this point. Because I think you can take all of these tires to the end with the assistance of the safety car. You're not going to be at massive tire deg loss risk. Oh, you're saying... Oh, okay, you did pit again. Apologies. I misinterpreted what you... Normally when you do that, that's followed up by a question mark, Viperize. So I'm really not sure. But yeah, Viperize down there in 10th. So he's not in a bad spot, and as well is still ahead of the likes of Kendricks and Eric. But I think Avni definitely would prefer that 4+ second advantage. I don't think we'll have a safety car in this lap. As you can see, the Ferrari there coming through Copse, Stratting doing the same. As again, I imagine, unless it's a very late message here, we will have one more lap under safety car. But again, it's very similar to what we saw yesterday. We saw we saw a virtual safety car, if I'm not mistaken, on the opening lap yesterday. And then we got 2 more safety cars in pretty quick succession, as we will have another lap now under the safety car. So it'll be 11 to go when we get back underway. But now that the field fairly set, we can take another look quickly at some of those position change graphics. Formula Jonah, I think, definitely one of the big drivers benefiting from that timing, as he's jumped 11 positions in this race. Seo and Strakasaur now both up 10. So they're in brilliant positions to potentially go deep into this race. A bit of lag there, seemingly from Deschamps, but looks like no damage from it, as everybody managing to keep it civil. Yeah, definitely important to know there. We'll also go ahead and throw up that penalty graphic. Of course, Deschamps picking up that 10 seconds for speeding, which I'm surprised he didn't serve with an additional stop under that safety car to try and at least, come out in a similar position to Kendricks and Eric, because I still think he would have slotted ahead of Ozan, despite having to serve that 10-second time penalty. But perhaps he thinks that the pack will be kind of close enough behind that there's an opportunity there to still pick up some very important championship points. As with pit entry, it's generally pretty cut and dry as you went over that speed limit. Again, we come through Copse for hopefully the final time under safety car. Of course, everybody doing everything they can to try and get those tires up to temperature. Of course, drivers, if you are listening, definitely remember to stay out of AI. I don't believe it warms up your tires as much. I believe they did patch that. But more importantly, we don't want, unless you're like typing or doing something important in the Discord, definitely try to stay out of AI. As the AI very finicky here, we can have a lot of issues, and it's just easier if everybody stays out of it, stays in control of their own car. And you can see everybody weaving away. We'll jump on board with Avni Ok's Mercedes. And of course, everybody as well should be A-OK on fuel. Will be the man who led from the off. Of course, only dropped back in order to get a fresh set of tires on his machine. We'll also go ahead and throw that tire graphic back up there, so that way you can see that. But again, he's trying to get back underway. Again, we'll see. He'll go ahead and take off now. Good reaction from him. Of course, he'll have to carry a good bit of speed through the final couple of corners. But once again, as we get back racing, it's Avni OK with the tire advantage, and Deschamps a little bit all over the road, and it's Avni OK with a great restart thanks to that tire advantage. He's already up to 1.3 seconds, 1.9, almost 2 seconds behind to the next closest driver. Kendricks, I think, with a bit of a mistake there, potentially jumping the gun. He's had to drop back down to P11. As he seemed to be briefly up in P8 there. Not sure what happened, but Kendricks very out of position. As they're 2x2 there, and that's Kendricks, and I believe that was Seo coming together as they were 2x2 through turn number 4. So Kendricks going to drop down now into 15th. Viperize in 9th. And again, you can see lots of battling there. You got, I believe that's Rusky looking to the inside of some guy, as the medium tire runner wants to get get away and have a chance to go chasing after Abney. Okay, you can see Owen taking a look to the inside of Formula Jonah and the inside of Cops, but thinking better of it. And again, it's going to take those hards a second to come up to temperature. And we saw that those, and it's really going to depend, because those mediums seem to really fall off a cliff in comparison to the hards. Ollie Jilly going to pick up 3 seconds for track limits. You can see Formula Jonah run a bit wide there. Got Pancakes as well, picking up 3 seconds. Strachosaur has actually fallen off that chase pack of Viperize. Eric back up into the points. Stratting up into 16th. I don't think he got the best restart, as there's a big battle there behind. You can see in the background. Look at that kind of... Look at those cars all spraying out. You got the Haas of, I believe that's Viperize, having to dive in the pits, as I think he picked up damage. DRS going to be re-enabled here on lap number 17. But it's a 1.8 second gap up at the front. Battle for P2 going on. Some guy looking to find a way through. He doesn't want to wait for DRS potentially, though he'll tuck back in as we get into turn 3. Running wide, though, is DeChal. I think trying to give him space, so here comes some guy around the outside. Of course, he will have DRS as we get back onto this kind of main straight here. That rear wing going to open, but the Selber is through, so some guy jumps up into P2. Here comes the Aston Martin Zrusky looking to make a move on his teammate, and I think DeChal, okay, not fighting his teammate, trying to make sure that he stays latched on, lets his teammate with the tire advantage go off after the man who just overtook him. And it's the battle of the green teams, but Abney, okay, now still 2.2 seconds the advantage up at the front. Owen as well getting past Jonah. Debo now on to the back of this fight, as Jonah seemingly falling off a little bit off the pace of that front pack. But again, still in a very good spot here. Eric up into 8th. Of course, Guardian up into 11th. He's got Ollie, Jelly, Pancakes, and Stratting right on him. Stratting, of course, going to be wanting to get past his teammate, as will Kendricks, who's dropped all the way to 15th. DeChal now getting back past Zrusky, as it seems to be a lot of downforce on that second Aston Martin. So potentially some very different strategies there going on. Some guy, though, early on at points in that lap seemed to be picking up time. We'll have to keep an eye on that gap throughout the lap. Eric Too Fast For You setting a new fastest lap of the race, 28.827, so he'd pick up that bonus point. Here comes DeChal looking to make a move. He's going to have to take evasive action, though, as he tried to tuck in. A little bit of contact in the back from Owen to Zrusky. Owen kind of into the back of everybody right now, as the V-Carb, as the Aston Martins now 2x2. Though, of course, everybody here with DRS. Formula Jonah now right on this pack. Here comes Owen looking to the inside of DeChal. He'll get on the brakes, try to get that car stopped, slide that car right in front. He'll get that done, because we saw him all up in the gearbox of some of those other drivers. And that's going to give some guy a little bit of breathing room, but that gap has opened up big time. That's up to now 3.2 seconds, as Avenue, okay, picking up about a second there. So that Mercedes just with loads and loads of pace as he continues to pull away here. I think definitely not what we expected to see after what was a very, very tight qualifying. But yeah, up to 3.5 seconds now. So those mediums really doing wonders. And Avenue, okay, being on a perfect strategy. Zrusky to the inside. He'll move up into P2. Some guy looking to maybe fight it back, though. Not quite going to have the grip to get it done. Strachosaur able to get past Ozan as well. So he's up into 9th. Formula Jonah as well dropping into 8th. He's battling side by side with Debo and is actually going to hold that position around the outside. Again, Jonah's a driver that we saw a lot last season. Kind of did battle for the Drivers' Championship for a good chunk of that one. And that was despite not finishing no higher than 3rd. So definitely keep an eye on him to hold on to those tires really, really well. As one of our league owners looks to kind of keep with, he will still have DRS here, so that'll give him an opportunity. Here comes some guy, though, looking to the inside once again for P2. They're going to be side by side. Going to carry not a lot of speed. Going to try to give Zrusky the squeeze, but he's going to keep it to the inside. Going to be a slightly better exit, though, for some guy. Potentially, no, not quite. Zrusky able to keep to the inside. Masquerade picking up an extra 3 seconds. Eric Too Fast For You, meanwhile, I haven't mentioned him much since that safety car restart, except for a couple of times, really just in passing. He's now up into 6th on that soft tire. So he's going to have a big advantage compared to some of those cars around him. And if you're looking at a driver potentially try and make a move and potentially go and chase after a win, you might want the red car on the red tire to potentially be the one to try and make those moves. Straxor and Ozan also closing up to the back of Jonah and Debo. As Debo making his way past, Owen looking to find his way past Zrusky. He had the inside there. They're going to be 2x2 once again in the final section. Zrusky turns in a little bit early and gets a bit loose there as they were going in a bit of a straight line. So that's going to let Owen up into the podium places. Eric, meanwhile, finds his way up into P5. He found his way past Achal, and I was threatening the other Aston Martin. As again, using those softs, going to be very nimble. Masquerade going to retire from the session in the pit, so that should not bring out the safety car, as we now have 7 laps left to go. Though that gap coming down a little bit up at the front, down to 3.2 seconds. As again, now some guy managing to make that little bit of a breakaway here. As I believe Wonder Blaze, maybe Masquerade. Here comes Eric Too Fast For You, looking around the outside, though with DRS. Zrusky able to defend. I think Owen had DRS there as well, which is why nobody quite changing positions. Eric, I think, all over the gearbox as 3 different cars on 3 different tires, looking to battle for the last of the podium spots. They're going to run into Cops now, and is that side-by-side? I believe it, no, it's going to be single file, look to be side-by-side for a brief moment running into Cops. Here comes Eric Too Fast For You, though. He's going to, again, look to try and find any way past either of the cars in front of him. The gap now is kind of about evened out now at about 3.5 seconds. DRS going to open back up, though. Here comes Zrusky looking to make a move on Owen. He'll look to the outside here. And it's going to be the V-Carb holding on at least temporarily. It's going to be close coming out. They're going to remain side by side. There's the Aston Martin looking to give the start with a squeeze, trying to open up the corner as much for himself as possible. And he'll find a way through. Yellow flags behind. Ollie Jelly out of this race. And that's once again going to bring out a safety car. Ollie Jelly out, potentially due to an incident there. As, yeah, you can see him on that inside wall as God Pancakes just drove through. And Pancake's going to pick up 10 seconds, so that's going to make his day worse. But everybody, of course, getting out ahead of the safety car. And God Pancake's actually going to retire here. As, yeah, again, everybody trying to find their way around that Aston Martin safety car. And, of course, trying to navigate that traffic. Of course, you will be under virtual safety car conditions. But now it is decision time, especially for our leader, who, once again, starting to build up a big lead. And then an incident going on behind is going to mess it up. But, of course, everybody head is going to be under VSC conditions. But, again, this gives the likes of Viperize and Sayao, who did get caught up in incidents there, an opportunity to get back in the race, even if the rest of the pack isn't going to have to stack up behind the safety car. When they dive into the pits, as Abney OK far enough ahead where that was not a concern. But, again, that pack very, very tight right now. So we're going to probably see a number of double stacks here. So the Mercedes going to be at risk of a double stack. The Aston Martin's potentially at risk of being, being at a big loss here. Who else with 2 in that top group? I think that's really it. Abney surprisingly staying out. Some guy staying out. Zrusky staying out. Number of drivers actually opting to stay out. Dechal is going to dive into the pits. He, of course, has that 10-second time penalty to serve. Here comes the Alpine of Kendricks and the Red Bull of Stratting. So, surprisingly, very few drivers opting to pit for fresh rubber here. So, a number of drivers staying out, which, to me, is a good bit of a surprise. And again, it's much like we saw yesterday in Group 1. Granted, it'll be a much shorter sprint to the end of this race, as I believe our last safety car in Group 1 ended around lap 18 or 19, and it was from there until the end. But we're in a very similar situation where we got a couple of drivers on older mediums and hards up towards the front and got an older set of softs, which, of course, at this point will now last for the rest of the race. And then you got a chunk of drivers outside of the points for now, who all, of course, are going to be just trying to find any way through on a very fast soft tire. As Viperize, big mistake there, picking up 3 seconds for track limits. Really unnecessary when you don't have the Delta and nobody is in the pit, so that's going to make his job even harder. I know you're listening, buddy. Shouldn't have did that. But, of course, is going to be trying to rush to utilize those soft tires for as many laps as possible, sitting P15. But that is a warning that you cannot get back. But Abney OK feels, I think, very comfortable with this pace. which is why he did not opt to dive into the pits. Frankly, I'm surprised we didn't see more drivers dive into the pits. Dechal certainly makes sense with that 10-second time penalty to serve for speeding in that first safety car exchange. Of course, everybody going to be doing their best to get those tires into the right window as everybody pulls up to the tail of the field. But certainly going to be an interesting one. Those mediums, of course, going to be very worn out. And so now you're going to have a number of drivers with worn cold tires here. And so that's going to be a big challenge. So when we get back underway, it will be 3 to go. So it'll be a 3-lap sprint to the end. So how many drivers have a shot here? I think if you're going for betting favorites, if you're trying for that instant favorite, I think it's hard to bet against Avni OK, as we saw how good he was on that first restart, utilizing that tire advantage perfectly to get back underway. Though as that continued, some guy definitely showed to be a little bit closer on pace. So certainly he's not out of the question. You got Zrusky back there matching Avni OK's tires. You got Owen back there on slightly more worn hards. He's going to have his work cut out for him. Eric Too Fast For You, going to be a very interesting driver to keep an eye on, as he seemed still very fighty on those softs, even as that safety car period continued, or as you're just before that safety car. Apologies, got my tongue twisted up a little bit there. But yeah, he's going to be somebody to keep an eye on. Of course, it's going to be a question of can Kendricks and Stratting and Dechal, and maybe in the likes of Seo and Viperize, potentially get up in the battle for points. And of course, 12 races is a very long season, so every point is going to matter, unless you're racing the likes of B-Tom in Season 9, in which case that was never much of a question. Though this season definitely seems to be very, very competitive in Group 1 as well. Definitely keep an eye on Group 3. Sadly, don't know as many names from that one, as this will be, I believe, the first full-length season of Group 3 we'll have in a minute. Stratting picking up 3 seconds due to track limits as well again. So that once again makes his job harder. Safety car in this lap. So Avni OK once again has control. So it'll be 3 seconds now. It's 3 seconds, 3 laps from here to the end of this race. Zrusky went round there. Zrusky went off circuit. So Zrusky has dropped to the back of the field as a big loss for the Aston Martin, as I think he was trying to get those tires warm. So now he's dropped down the order. Some guy in second, Owen now in third, and Eric with less work to do. And now the Mercedes is going to take off. Once again, can he get a good exit through those final couple of corners? He's up to half a second. He's up to 6/10. Avni OK making his way through the final couple of corners. Some guy, though, keeping up with him a little bit better this time. A little bit of wheel spin, but they got much smaller now. It's now 7/10 as we get back to green flag racing and get back underway here in Silverstone. And Eric Too Fast For You already looking to make moves. He's up into the podium spots as a soft tire runner. Getting a great jump there on Owen, potentially keeping a lot more heat into those soft compound tires, as he's already up into third. You can see Jonah looking to make moves as well, having to defend from Strakasaur, but already it's looking like it's going to be more of a 3-horse race for the win. Formula Jonah side by side with Devo. You can see that in the background. We'll jump to it as Jonah looks to sweep around the outside, but I think a little bit more heat in those medium compound tires means Jonah's able to defend. He's not going to be briefly 3 wide, as there's Ozan looking to the inside. He's going to get 2 drivers there in that scramble here in the opening stages, and you see the soft tire runners all looking to get through. Jonah still managing to stay ahead of Strakasaur, though. As you can see, a whole bunch of the soft tire runners all looking to make moves. Here comes Kendricks, clearing a whole head of steam, but has to check up, run a little bit wide there. They're Stratting to the inside. He's up in the 9th. Guardian Knight's up in the 7th as he goes to the inside of Strakasaur. But we'll continue to battle here on lap 24, and of course, Eric Too Fast For You trying to keep as close to those front drivers as possible, and Avni OK not making much of a breakaway. That gap only at 7/10, so some guy and Eric with the door open to potentially snatch a victory away from Avni OK, who has been absolutely dominant and has really not put a foot wrong in this one. And that gap very tight, so have those mediums started to fall off. DRS is going to be enabled, so some guy and Eric with a shot, and it's going to be Yeah, I believe it will be a three-horse race for the win. Debo under pressure from Ozane now. You can see drivers scattering there in the background. I believe that was Seo. Wide Viperize back up in the points. Kendricks as well, getting past Dachal. All as they scramble through. But got the top three within half a second of each other. Now, or top three all within half a second of each other in intervals. Here comes Eric looking to the inside. As some guy with a very bad run through that section. 2 laps to go, and it's Eric up into P2 on a soft compound tire. As the Ferrari, who got very unlucky under that safety car with Kendricks, who has not had this race go to plan for him as well, as Kendricks currently sitting in 11th, should jump up into 9th after penalties as it stands, but the other man who pitted with him is now in the battle for the win as we go through Cops for the penultimate time. That gap down to 4/10, and Avenue OK for the first time in this race under pressure of losing the lead. They're going to go into Maggots and Beckett's. How much life is still in those softs for Eric? How much did he save? Was he able to save them under that safety car? And how much life do they still have? Of course, puncture risk shouldn't be a concern. DRS going to open up. He's going to close a couple of tenths here. Some guy potentially looking to get into this fight as well. Owen looking to hold on to P4 as Ozan looks to close him down. Debo there, Stracco there. Kendricks up back into the top 10 as I think contact there with Viperize, who's gone for a slide. As you can see that in the background there. Not sure entirely what happened, but I think drivers are trying to battle for any possible points, and we'll start the final lap of this one. Viperize out of this race. No safety car will race back to the flag as Viperize, his day is done. He'll be 15th and out, so we'll see what happened there. Of course, post-race. But Abney looking to defend here. He's got a couple of DRS zones left, so do you play DRS chicken here? Great exit there from Eric as he pulled up a 10th in the traction zone alone. Abney going to go defensive immediately, but Eric seemingly a little bit low on ERS. He's going to tuck in down to a quarter of a second, but doesn't pick up a lot of time through that first DRS zone. Is Eric thinking long game, though? As 3 drivers still in, Abney, Eric, some guy. Who's going to come out on top? Bit wide there from Eric. That's going to lose him a little bit of time. How crucial is that going to end up being? As we race our way back to the flag, about half a lap to go as we pass the old pit straight. You can see drivers battling in the background as well. Ozan and Owen, I believe, looking to go side by side briefly through Cops. They seem to make it through okay, as you can see them in the background. We'll stick here for the battle for the win. How much has Eric saved for a final push? 2 braking zones left to go, and can the Ferrari do anything about it? Rear wing going to open up. He's going to be deploying all of that energy, closing within 3 tenths, closing to within a quarter of a second. Can he find any room to the inside? Not yet. Going to be looking to make that move. Ozan also finding his way past Owen. But Abney OK, can he hold on? 1 traction zone left to go. He hasn't put a foot wrong. He's defended admirably, and he'll come out of the final corner, and it'll be the Mercedes winning in Silverstone. Abney OK wins. Some guy with a big mistake. He's going to try to get the inside. It'll be Ozan on the podium. He'll come home in 3rd, Guardian in 4th, and everybody going to scramble across the line. So I didn't see how that ended, but it's the Mercedes of Abney OK dealing with the safety cars, coming out on top, having, of course, having to deal with loads of pressure late. Ozan picking up driver of the day after managing to pick up the podium as some guy, I think, looking for any pace possible. But yeah, big loss there from Zrosky, but it's Abney OK on top. Eric, of course, great recovery drive after getting really unlucky under that first safety car to come home in 2nd. But of course, we'll have to see what those ending results were, because I wasn't fully sure myself, but it is Abney coming home with the win, and of course picking up almost maximum 29 points if he had managed to pick up that fastest lap, but it will go to Eric, who started 4th. Ozan comes in 3rd, followed by Guardianite. Some guy then in 5th, followed by Owen, Strakasaur, Dachal, Kendricks, and Debo. Zrusky was on the restart. Apologies. But yeah, some guy dropping all the way to 5th at the end of that one. But it certainly was a very chaotic and very eventful end of that one, as it's been 2 really, really great races here at Silverstone. Always a blast when we come back to this circuit. And yeah, of course, congratulations to Avni OK. But yeah, definitely gonna need to, figure something out for that one. I'm very glad that I had gamer subs, especially for those last couple laps. But yeah, definitely going to be an interesting one. Very tight at the end, so we'll see how much penalties have an impact. There definitely seemed to be an incident or 2 in there. But yeah, certainly was a good one. Very enjoyable one to commentate. Congratulations to Avni, Eric, and Ozan for coming out on top. Once again, 2 different winners in 2 races. once again, we'll see if that trend continues as next weekend we go into Austria for our first different weekend of the season. Of course, we do have a sprint round scheduled for Austria. So should be plenty more close wheel-to-wheel action in that one. So definitely, if you're new to LSR, definitely would appreciate you hitting subscribe down below. Listen to any of our three beautiful voices on commentary. Myself, T-Bone, for Group 1, Gabi Cho as the primary for Group 3, and you'll hear scouting of a couple other voices through there. If you're interested in joining, definitely let us know down below, and we'd be happy to get you involved. And if you have somebody you think might be interested, definitely feel free to get them in here as well. We always appreciate extra reserves, or if you're interested in commentary, definitely let us know there as well, as we'd be definitely willing to talk to you about potentially getting you a run. But definitely was a good one. Hopefully you enjoyed all 26 laps of that one. Of course, I've been Vacant Haddock, and until next time, we will see you later.